Hi, friends. It's Randy
and Jess,
and we're going to cut the bullshit.
And let's get into women's mental health.
Welcome to the podcast, Unapologetically All Over the Place with Randy and Jess, where we talk about women's mental health issues and how it's all normal.
In this episode, we're going to talk about the holiday blues.
The holiday season can bring so much joy to our lives, can also bring a lot of unwanted guests, unwanted stress, compound depression and anxiety. With some practical tips we're going to talk about in today's episode, you can minimize the stress that accompanies the holidays and maybe even slightly enjoy them.
Slightly, right? Okay, so stick with us to the end. We're going to tell you how you can get a copy of our holiday survival guide, how to survive the holidays with your mental health intact. We're going to send it to you, but we're going to tell you how to come and get it.
Yep, and for free.
Free.
We love anything free.
All right. Have you ever thought,
I love the holidays, but I also hate them.
I wish I didn't have to deal with the stress of the holidays.
Why are the holidays so difficult sometimes?
I'm always broke by New Year's.
Why do I have to buy gifts for these people or like my coworkers or like anybody you're just not feeling right now?
Right. Or how about the stress? I'm always stressed. We talked about it last episode, trying to buy Randy a gift. I don't know what to buy the woman for holidays. So it's stressful, right? Or like, I don't know how to deal with certain people.
Right. Or yeah. And same thing, like maybe some people are easier to buy for, or maybe some people aren't. Or like you said, like, how do I deal with Uncle Dick? Let's call him, that like you don't like that much or you have opposing views on. Like that kind of stuff can be stressful when it's supposed to be, what do they say? The most wonderful time of the year.
Right.
So
they're supposed to be exciting and they're supposed to be fun and it's supposed to be magical, right? This magic thing. Why is it so stressful? Why do we have such a hard time with it?
Well, because it's like, who creates the magic?
Well,
we do.
I do.
Moms do.
I do.
Women do. Like, you're trying to make things like special. But with that, we can feel like we need to like go over the top with things. And that can lead to financial burdens, the stress of just like even thinking of it or planning of it or like wanting to do it and then feeling like you're failing if you don't make it a certain way that you think it should be,
Oh my gosh, yes. Holiday blues is described, by the way, this is not a DSM diagnosis. We can't actually diagnose you with holiday blues.
It's just a plain old stress and, crap like that.
The crap like that is the temporary feelings, right?
My technical term.
The crap like that. It's the anxiety and the depression that you feel during the holiday seasons, right? And so we say holidays. When does this normally start?
So it starts around November or December and usually stops like January, February. But I would say like even now, like it's starting earlier and earlier as more and more, I would say like retailers, media and things like that push holidays earlier and like sales more and more. So I think that we can find it happening,
August.
Right now. Yeah.
August.
It's mid-October right now and we're recording this and we should already like have all the Christmas presents under the tree. Like,
hey, I would have my tree up
if
it wasn't in my wedding vows that I had to wait till the day after Thanksgiving.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, there is no honor or obey in our wedding vows except for you will not put a tree up until the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you would have that in your wedding vows.
Oh no, it wasn't me. It was my husband.
Yeah.
It was my husband. Okay. Going back to serious, though,
yeah,
those that are already depressed or anxious are at a bigger risk. So you have to take care of yourself during this time of the year. So just know that if you've already got all the anxiety or depression happening, that when the holiday blues come around, it could make it worse for you.
Right. So it's like, how do we plan ahead? How do we make sure we have the support we need during this? Make sure that like we're not being so overwhelmed. What are the triggers that we can experience and things that pitfalls so that we can kind of avoid those?
So the first one you've already said earlier was we have unrealistic expectations. Like I'm expecting magic.
Right.
Right?
Fluffy snow, sparkling, angels coming down singing, all of the most wonderful, exciting presents that you've always wanted. And that's not realistic.
Yeah. Or, this year we're at a year where my daughter's 12 and she's going to hate everything I got her. I already know that, like, I think I'm doing a good job, but she's already said, Mom, don't buy me clothes. You don't know how to pick out clothes for me. And I'm like, okay, cool. No clothes. So I basically have been like, just pick out everything you want and I'll stick it under the tree.
Right, yeah.
So, some of the magic is going to disappear.
Right. That's true. That does kind of come with it. And because my daughter is, 16 and a half too, like, and her and I shop a lot together and we're very similar, like in things that we like and stuff too. And she will be like, look at this, Mom. And then I'll be like looking at her like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I already bought that, and then she can tell because she can read me and she's like, you bought this for me already, didn't you? And I'm like, stop talking, and then, she'll put something in the cart and I'm like, put that back. And she's like, why? Did you already buy it? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like leave me alone. Or she's always with me and I'm like, okay, you're already seeing this Christmas present. It's going to be wrapped under the tree.
Growing up, my mom would give us boxes with our names on the back side of it so we could wrap our own gifts because she was like, I don't have time for this. You got to help.
I make my kids wrap their own. Well, my daughter loves to wrap and I don't. So I write numbers now, like on the back of everything. And I'm like a crazy like gift person. So I have like a spreadsheet of like gifts because I will forget. And she wraps them all. And then she's like, was this mine? And I was like, yeah, you wrapped it. But anyways, back to kind of things that can trigger us for these holiday blues. Like one of a major thing too is memories of like past holidays, if they were good or if they were bad for you. Having family or friends not around or that have passed on. And that can be really, really hard. That's very hard for me too with the loss I've had in my life and losing my mom because Christmas time, she made very, very special for us, like always.
She made the magic.
Yeah. And so I feel like everything's up to me to make the magic now. And like, am I measuring up? And then like, she's not here to see this. And like, my kids don't get to know her. And it's like, so all that stuff can kind of snowball and compound and trigger, me. So that's very common to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it is. This is when we remember, like my uncle passed earlier this year. This is the first year without him.
Right.
And so there are things that are going to be different, from like my parents or for other people in the family. And so it's hard when we don't have our loved ones.
Yeah. And you kind of mourn like what it was or like what your traditions were before and like how they look now. And I've kind of found joy in creating new traditions and trying to kind of let go of those other ones that, might be bringing me down during the holidays. So that's something kind of like I've, used to like combat that.
What Randy is giving away is she's telling you a little bit more about our holiday survival guide that we're going to have at the end of this. You're going to get to read about that in our holiday survival guide. Okay, so another one is a lot of people feel lonely or like they're isolated, right? Especially like the last couple of years where we haven't been able to travel as much or see family as much.
Yeah, or like people are sick, plans change, or you don't want to get a loved one sick. But like sometimes I feel too when we are surrounded even with like huge groups of family or friends during the holiday season, it can sometimes make us feel more lonely. So you can be in a crowded room and still feel lonely, and that's normal.
Yeah, and not connected to somebody. That can be very normal.
Yeah, sometimes it can make the connection seem like even further because you might feel like family issues or triggers and can feel that deep, loss all of a sudden, even with somebody sitting right across from you.
What always gets me, though, is the feeling overwhelmed or stressed. Right? There always feels like there's so much for me to do.
Right.
I want to make the cookies. I want to make sure I do this. I want to make sure I have that. And so it just becomes very overwhelming for a lot of people. I mean, I know I'm not the only one.
Oh, yeah. And I'm the type, too. Like, I want to do all the things. But then it's like, okay. And I think that's where this workbook can come, into play, too, and help people is like writing down, too, like what you really want to accomplish and focus on, whether that is really like being present or like the time or like maybe picking like one or two of those things. Maybe I really want to go ice skating and create, that memory, or like I want to bake cookies or whatever it is, or I want to have friends over. Maybe picking like one of those things so it's not like all these things and thinking you have to accomplish them all and then ending up in this cycle that like, oh, I didn't do any of this and this is shitty and this sucks. Also holding those realistic expectations. Like you might go ice skating and it might suck. Like there might be too many people there. Like your kids might scream and cry the whole time. Like,
but are we going to get a good picture for social media?
Right.
That's what I want to know. Are we going to get a good picture for social media?
Yeah, don't worry about that stuff. Try to kind of piece together, like, and be realistic and intentional about what you want to do for the holidays, I think could help. But there's also a lot of seasonal factors, like physical things that come into play that can affect us. And what do those look like, Jess?
Especially where we are, we have less sunlight. Most people start eating the office potlucks come in, or the cookies. Yeah, or like holiday parties and getting together with friends and eggnog and rum.
So drinking more alcohol. Yeah.
Yep, drinking more, sleeping less, right? We have it kind of shoved down our throat every store we go to that it's the wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, so it's over commercialized. I have gotten I think every single, holiday gift guide, toy gift guide, sitting.
Oh, in the last week.
Yeah, in the last couple of weeks. And they're all over my house because my son's circling every single toy in it. And I'm like, Santa ain't coming this year, bro.
She's already been like, I want this and this and this and
yeah,
this.
and I'm like, no. And I try to reiterate to myself and the kids, it's not about the gifts, but it's hard because it is shoved down our throat.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the other thing. Do we even mention that, how much it costs? Do we talk about money?
Yeah, and it can. And that's the thing. I think we feel this need to overperform and overbuy. In my other social media platform, I talk about savings a lot. And this is something very near and dear to my heart, is that you should buy throughout the year and not stress yourself out financially. But it's very hard for people to do because most of us live paycheck to paycheck. But you should not put yourself
in debt.
Nope. At all for the holidays. Go to the Dollar Tree and buy a few things if you need to put them under the tree. Do not put yourself in debt for this. It is not worth the heartache and that hill you're going to have to climb, or the pit you're going to have to dig yourself out of, putting yourself in financial debt that is going to cost way more stress, anxiety, depression, and heartache. Media doesn't care. They're just buy, and things are hard right now. Food costs are up, housing costs are up, gas is up. So it's really weigh what is important and what you need to buy, and kind of don't fall into the hype of you need to have 20,000 things under the tree. Well, a lot of people too, they do a thing, which I've tried to practice over the last few years too, is you get them one thing they need, one thing they want, a little experience, and a book or something like that. So it's I think that can help rein, us in too, of those of us who like to shop or feel
oh my
like
God,
we
I love
can't.
shopping though. That's the thing, is that you saw my hallway when you walked in.
No, I know, girl.
I have all my boxes are showing up, and I'm like, oh man, oh man.
And I know you got closets full too. So, and then there's a lot of physical symptoms that come with this too that we don't think about, and those can look differently for everybody too when the holiday blues hit.
Those are things like changes in appetite, right? You can either eat more or less. Most of us eat more, right? Changes in sleep patterns.
Yeah, and that's really common too because the daylight hours are shorter and we don't adjust our sleep schedule and patterns for that. And so then our whole body chemistry gets thrown off because of that. And it depends
Stupid time change.
I know, it depends too where you're at on the equator and how much sunlight you get, and all these things come into play that we don't think about.
It doesn't. These really do. They look like depression when you're thinking about it, right?
But it's a temporary.
Right.
Yeah.
It's feelings of worthlessness and guilt and the more tired or more anxious, right? Those are all holiday blues.
Yeah. Or just being I don't want to do any of it at all. When you've been so excited for it and now you're there's a gray area there, saying to yourself, when to step back. And then there's wait, am I really just pulling away, and isolating myself from everybody and everything?
Yeah. I know you get SAD, seasonal affect disorder.
I do.
We talked about that one of our first podcasts, right? So seasonal affect disorder is the type of depression that's related to changes in the seasons for the people out there. And that has a lot to do with the light and the cold and the lack of vitamin D.
Right.
But what's the difference between that and holiday blues?
Okay. Well, seasonal affective disorder, commonly called a SAD, is actually diagnosable in the DSM-5. and they label it as major depressive disorder with a seasonal pattern. So that is like, pretty much like every single year during this season, your depression is going to hit harder than normal. About like 5% of adults have this. It usually onsets anywhere between age like 18 and 30. And I would say mine came like probably around after 30, or it depends on where you live. Like when I moved from a sunnier place to a place with less sunlight is when I really noticed it coming into play more and more. And so this lasts like about, 40% of the year. So like it starts hitting more in like November, December, and then into January and February is when it can hit you hardest.
Yeah, I can see that. So I know that like we've talked before about like it's treated with like a light therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Vitamin D is one of the ones too, because we're not getting that.
Yeah.
So making sure you get your vitamins checked by your doctor so you know how much to take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they generally suggest the overall population take like 2,000, what is it, IU?
I don't know.
A day. So it's like if you have seasonal affective disorder, you're definitely probably going to want to up that. So it's good to talk to your doctor about that. They say like vitamin B is good. Like I personally take vitamin D, vitamin B. I use a light therapy. I actually have a video of me using it. I can post it for you guys too, because you're like supposed to use it between like, 10 to 20 minutes a day at like a certain angle. I just keep it on my desk, like when I'm working, and put it on. Doing psychotherapy, CBT therapy is really good too, to like just kind of like have somebody to talk through it. And things too, like making your overall like environment like brighter and sunnier can help elevate your mood too. Like open up all your windows.
I do every morning. I go through.
I need it too. Yeah.
Open up all my blinds. I have changed all our bulbs in our house to be these bright whites. My family is like, "What are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
But I want them all nice and bright during the winter, because when it's so dark here, and that's usually when we start adding like our twinkle lights, and I bring out the little ball thing with like sparkly lights, because I want to bring in a little bit more, more
even
cheer.
if it's just like kind of like the environment, like we were saying, like the idea of warmth. I think like we need that, and sometimes just feeling like you're enveloped in that, coziness can help. And like even getting outside, to get a little bit of sunlight, like where we live, it can get really cold and start snowing. But like, this is how Jess and I connected, was that we started walking during the winter months.
In our big puffy jackets.
Yeah, in our big puffy jackets, beanies and gloves and stuff, because we both needed to get out of the house and get a little bit of sun and like move our bodies, because the winter months can be really hard for us.
Yeah. They're a lot harder than I thought they would be, to be honest, because of the weather.
Yeah.
But man, I sit by the window and do therapy, and I see these women out there. Man, one of them, she loves to walk the neighborhood, and she walks in her little ice crushing, add-ons to her shoes.
Oh,
and you can hear
you can get little what are those spikes?
Little
spikes that they put on. I'd never seen those till we moved here. I was like, what are those?
And I have a pair, but she's like click, 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 click every morning, and she's getting in her sun. All of this is so stressful, and the weather is getting kind of funky. How do we prevent this?
It can be like when you're rolling down this hill of kind of like, holiday blues, or if you think you're moving into like seasonal depression, like it can be hard to stop that train on the tracks. So you really have to be aware of these things and how it has affected you in the past, so that as you're moving forward, you can kind of take these tools and utilize them better. And so the first step is acknowledging like how the holidays really make you feel. Are they hard on you? Like it doesn't have to be this magical time. Like it can be very hard. Like being honest with yourself, I just do not like this holiday period. I don't like Christmas. I don't like Hanukkah, whatever it is. I don't like December. I don't like the weather. Like, that's okay. Like, own it and like think like, how can I flip this around for myself? It's also okay to be sad. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel your grief. It's okay to talk about your feelings. Don't force yourself to be happy just because it's like the holiday season. Don't fake it till you make it. That's not going to help you.
That's going back to our toxic positivity, episode 5, if you haven't heard that one yet. Going back to that. Yeah, my husband doesn't like Christmas. He doesn't like the money being spent. He doesn't really like the traditions.
He's the Grinch, huh?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This year we have shirts. We didn't get matching PJs, but I got us matching shirts. And his literally is the Grinch. We all have different Grinch themes. Yes. And this is my jolly face, right? It's the Grinch making a face.
But that's because they trigger him, right?
It triggers him. And we've worked out between us that I like the holidays. I won't go over the top, but please don't also bring me down.
Right.
And so we've kind of found a nice balance, and that's something
you have to compromise. And that's a huge part of marriage too. You know, when you've been with somebody that long, it's like understanding too, like the things that trigger them, like, you know, they might not associate Christmas with happiness. That might be, you know, a horrible time for them in their lives when they were a child or things like that. You don't know all the baggage everybody else carries with them.
Right. And so we've compromised, right? And so part of this is we've talked, we reached out to each other. We talked about what's going on, right? And that's the other part is if you're feeling like this, reach out to those around you. Friends or family or your therapist or, you know, your pastor or whoever and talk to them
or a
about
support
it.
group. I mean, find a Grinches R Us support group. I mean, I'm sure there's one like on Facebook somewhere.
Grinches R Us.
There's a group for everything. But like, you know, if you're feeling that, like, and you know that you need connection, sometimes it is easy to just be like, well, nobody's calling me, nobody's texting me, like nobody's reaching out to me. Well, you know, make the first step sometimes, you know, because that can be healing for you.
Yeah. And let's be realistic. That's the other piece is be realistic. Everything is changing. You know, we have found since we moved and then the pandemic hit, I really like being home on Christmas Day with my kid and my jammies. I mean, like, that's kind of a goal
Not
for
traveling
us.
is awesome.
It is. And we're not traveling anymore.
Yeah.
And it changed things, right?
Yeah, but sometimes it's hard for other people to accept, right?
Yes. The other family is like, but I'm like, we really enjoy being home on Christmas and our jammies. It changes. And so just be realistic about what your expectations or what you need.
Well, and like you were talking about too, like you have an adult child and it's like they might not be able to come home for Christmas.
He won't be.
They will have their own life or their own things. They will be moving on too. And it's like understanding that too, you know, from both sides. And like you said, creating a new pattern or tradition with them. Like maybe you FaceTime with them instead. Yeah,
we do. We pop up our little Amazon FaceTime thingy, and he calls us, and he opens up the present from us, or we talk for a little bit, and then you know, and it kind of you've talked I think last episode about like a long present opening, right? But we take time and we set it aside for him.
Just because it looks different doesn't mean you can't find joy in it or find a way to celebrate it.
Yeah, I love it. And the other thing we sometimes will do is make cookies with my mom, right? Who's not in the same state.
Right.
You know, we'll both make cookies or buy cookies.
Yeah.
And then we'll
save time. Yeah.
buy cookies and then we'll decorate them and she can decorate them and we can have a conversation and a cup of tea. You know, there's no reason why we can't do the same thing together. And I think we learned that during, you know, the pandemic, actually.
Yeah. But I like that. That's a fun idea too. Sometimes you can take the time to like set aside like differences and or maybe even find, you know, forgiveness doesn't mean you have to forget things, but sometimes forgiveness, it's not about the other person, it's about yourself too, and like laying that burden down for yourself. And sometimes you can find that kind of peace, I feel, during, you know, the holidays, or maybe to like let it go. And like, maybe I'll touch base back on that later. But
or like politics. I mean, that's the thing, to set aside politics is kind of be like, let's not talk about politics during the holidays.
Yeah, let's make this a rule. And like,
it is a rule at our house that no politics at the dinner table. We will not go there. We love everybody for who they are. And we all get to make choices, right? Yeah. So set aside those differences.
Yeah. Another great tip is to stick to a budget. Like,
what?
I know that's like really hard to do. But, you know, before you get, you know, into that debt hole, you don't want that. Think about what that is going to entail, you know, and that can help you stick to your budget too. You can't buy happiness.
No, you can't. I mean,
you can buy temporary like serotonin, which is, you know, my Amazon delivery every day, but
what?
Not every day, just kidding. But
she's not kidding.
There are other things. And you know what I find a lot of joy is like volunteering and buying things for those in need over, going crazy during the holidays. And that also helps me put things into perspective and stick to my budget.
Yeah, I have friends that they'll say, don't buy us gifts. Don't buy the kids gifts. We don't need anything.
Right.
We make enough money. If you want to give, donate in their name for their birthday. Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, if you want to give because you feel like you want to give, then great. Pick a charity, or they'll pick a charity and say, we are donating to this one.
Or like put it in a college fund. Like we have a savings account for our kid. If you feel the need, like put it in there.
So what we do for my daughters, like she doesn't need cash. Just put it in her savings account for her, college fund. And there you go, which is great. Some families do like a gift exchange. So you're only buying one gift.
Yes.
Some families, they'll do homemade gifts. Everybody brings in a gift. It's like that. Oh my gosh, the cookie exchanges. Do you ever do the cookie parties?
Yes, I used to hold a cookie party every year. Of course I did. I cut that out as one of the things that stressed me out. But I was thinking of doing it again this year. But just remind me.
Okay, because that sounds like fun.
No, it does.
Everybody gets cookies because I'm not a great baker, but I can make chocolate chip.
Right.
And then somebody else.
Buy some.
Or buy some. And then everybody else does something. That's a great idea. Planning ahead.
That's
right?
what we talked about earlier and stuff. Like consider your planning, your shopping, your budgeting, like all this stuff. Write it down in the workbook that we're going to give you guys. Like lay it out so you see that in black and white. And then set aside like that time. Like, okay, I'm going to do, my baking on this day. I'm going to do my shopping on this day. Like it really can, help you when you don't leave things to last minute. I know a lot of us thrive on that. I'm going to say AKA me, because especially when I was undiagnosed ADHD, like we do everything last minute because like we thrive off of the stress of that. But now like the older I'm getting, I'm finding like that causes more chaos,
causes more anxiety.
Yeah,
I'm like,
anxiety.
I don't want to do that.
And depression and all that kind of stuff. So it's like really for me planning out that I'm going to get this stuff done and not doing it last minute have helped me combat like the holiday blues and my seasonal affective disorder.
Well, and for me, if I plan it out, I can also budget better. Like I can go, okay, for Thanksgiving, I'll start talking here soon. What do we want to have? Right? Because
especially with groceries and the cost of stuff right now.
Yeah.
If you can get it when it's like on sale earlier and not wait to when they jack up the prices, which is something I talk about a lot, are like the sales cycles and stuff, is like you will put yourself in a better position financially and thus mentally too.
Oh man, last year I was just thinking it was a hot mess. I had to have those Christmas poppers, right? You know the crackers?
Yeah.
I had to have those.
No
and so
way.
I dragged my daughter down to the store, right? Because we were going to get them. And it was like so busy that day. It was complete chaos. We got food to go. We're at like the Albertsons, got food to go. And in the midst of all of this, she spills the food. I mean, like we were chaos.
Everything's just going wrong. Yeah.
Right. But I got my poppers.
But was it worth it?
No. And that's what I was thinking. It was not worth it. She and I kind of melted down.
Yeah.
And it was like, I should have planned better. And so that's what's writing everything down is to make sure that I've got my crackers this year because I want my poppers.
Because you want them and you don't want to stress out. So now you're ahead of the game.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's like the same thing. Like my mom always used to put like these chocolate oranges like in our stockings.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And so I was always like, my kids need to have these chocolate oranges. I don't even like chocolate. I'm one of those weird people. Don't ask me. It makes me sneeze. Anyways, it's a whole thing. And my kids don't like them. And I was like, why am I always stressing myself out that I need these chocolate oranges? Things. We live in a place that doesn't have a lot of stock of things. And like we need to order most of our stuff online. But it's like, and I was like, they don't get eaten. My kid doesn't eat the sugar. I don't like them. I'm not going to eat them. Like my husband doesn't like them. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. Like let it go.
So it's okay to make new traditions is what I'm hearing.
And to say no to yourself too.
Yeah.
That's another one. Saying no overall.
Yes.
To extra things, other people, extra work, like your boss, your colleague that wants to push off some work on you. No, just say
people
no.
that want to show up that you're like, not really. I don't have this space. So if you have a hard time saying no, go back to episode 6 that we recorded about boundaries.
Yes.
That is a great one to go back and listen. Boundaries are amazing.
Yeah.
So the other one is don't let go of the healthy habits you're doing. If you are walking or you're eating healthy, keep that with you. I make sure that, I can't eat sugar. We don't eat gluten.
Right.
And so when we go places, I make sure that they have food we can eat, or I just bring it with us to make sure that, there is something somewhat healthy. There is a meat and cheese tray that we can have, because sometimes people don't think like that. And so stick to your habits.
Well, and a lot of people use the holidays, let's be honest, as an excuse to backslide with their health, like their habits, their drinking. Like, well, everybody was having a drink,
we were being
at the
jolly.
party. Like, everybody kept asking me, or like they didn't have any other options, there for me to eat. Like, and then I just ate this and I ate this and I ate this, and now I feel like shit. Well, it's like, okay, let's plan ahead what you can do. Don't use it as an excuse. Take care of yourself, take care of your body, take care of your mind, take a breath, so that you're not feeling like shit at the end of the holidays. You're not triggering your anxiety and your depression or your other mental health issues just because you decided to overindulge in the moment.
And one of the things I tell all of my clients is, if you're struggling with drinking too much, I want you to have a glass in your hand at all times, but I want you to replace it with water, right? And if you're somewhere that you're like, they'll look at me weird if I have water, then just get like a tonic water with a lime.
Yeah, get a sparkling water or something.
Water.
The non-alcoholic juice like they have,
right?
Or whatever. Like, I do that all the time. I'll just put a little something in my hand so I feel like I have it. Like, because I feel like a lot of times we feel like we need like this prop or this crutch, or so people don't comment about it because they do. And they'll be like, why aren't you drinking? Can't you have a drink? Just have the peer pressure of it is like really weird, especially with food too. Like, what people will always be like, why aren't you eating that? Or don't you want to try this? Don't you want to take a bite?
Here, take a bite. And
it's like, no. Again, boundaries. Back to episode 6. Listen to it. It's going to be a good listen. It's going to be on repeat for me too during the holidays. Like, boundaries. Like, no.
But yeah, it is such a good thing to always have a glass, right? And most of the time we're thirsty.
Right.
And so it's to have a glass that is non-alcoholic, or if you want an alcoholic beverage, have one, but replace it with like 2 glasses of water, 2 glasses of something, and alternate. So that way you're just not slamming drinks the whole time. I loved what you said about taking a breather, right? That is great.
Step back.
Most people are not breathing. I think there's like a 500-page book just on breathing out there, because people don't breathe. And
you can go to our YouTube channel and see how Jess forced me to box breathe.
Totally forced her. It was great.
It's so funny though, because like, and I was talking about this too with a friend, and they were like, yeah, you are not a good breather. Because I was like, Jessica was like telling me like, I'm not doing it right. And I was like, no, I know I'm not. I'm a very shallow breather. But ever since you've made me do that, I've been more conscious about it and taking the time to breathe. Even just that simple, her putting me on the spot and making me breathe. I'm like thinking like, Jess would think I'm breathing really shitty right now. I need to breathe. But it's holding me like accountable to that. Like, even, for that like 5-second clip we did or whatever.
Yeah. And I love practicing breathing with people. Most people don't breathe. They don't breathe deep. And really, it's so relaxing for me to actually say, okay, let's do it. No, you're not.
Well, it makes you pause too.
Yeah. So it's really a good thing that I do. But yeah, that video, I was watching it the other night when I was on our channel. I was laughing. I was like, yeah, I didn't even warn you about it.
Oh, God. We'll put the link up to our YouTube channel, too. We've been throwing on some funny clips and stuff up there.
Yeah.
Us there. But, and even just taking a break by yourself in the quiet or turning on music, whatever it is that looks for you. I don't like a lot of sound. So I'll usually be like, sit down 15 minutes quiet to zen out. But like sometimes that can be like, just screaming out loud to the music in the car.
My daughter and I like to lay on the trampoline and like look at the stars. Sometimes we've done that a lot. We just kind of lay there and like check it out, or we'll sit in the back of the pickup truck and look at the stars. Sometimes it's taking my book and my cozy blanket and a cup of tea and hiding in my corner of my room and reading.
And those things don't cost a lot.
Nope.
Get you a cute little blanket. They have them for $5 at Walmart. cozy up and your book from the library.
You can also take your bougie ass blanket your bougie cup of tea.
You can do whatever that looks like for you.
And you can even mix and match them too.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing. There's no judgment here.
Oh yeah. I'm big on high-low. If you guys know, like I will wear like the most expensive boots with like a pair of jeans from Walmart. I'm all about that. So
she will.
I will. And
right.
I'll own it.
She does. Okay. Last thing really truly is to get help. Right. Yep. If you're not sure if you're just feeling holiday blues or if you're anxious or if you're depressed, talk to somebody like us who knows the difference, because you want to be able to get the help.
Episode 2, we talk about depression and we also have a checklist on our website. So if you are thinking those things, and we also put on there how you can approach your doctor or a professional, how to talk to them if you're like anxious about that and things like that can really help when you're seeking professional help.
Yeah. And the other episode we had was episode 7 for anxiety. So we've kind of broken some of this down for you, and we'll continue to break it down because really we want to end the stigma of mental health.
Yep. And with that, you know, you have to learn how to empower yourself. And that's why we're really passionate about bringing these tools to you. And bringing them to you free for the masses, because we don't want there to be barriers for women to have access and to control their mental health and well-being. And you guys can grab our holiday survival guide on our website, randyandjesspodcast.com, for free. Just sign up for our newsletter and you'll get it.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so excited.
Beat the holiday blues, guys. You guys have this.
Yes.
I'm sorry, ladies, you have this.
Take care of yourself.
Yes. And we're going to have happy holidays here. Let's see.
That's right.
All right. Talk to you next time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Thanks for listening and normalizing mental health with us.
Don't forget to check out our free resources and favorites on our website, unapologeticallyrandyandjess.com.
Like and share this episode and tune in next week.